Welcome to Popular Misconceptions in Chinese History, where we take common beliefs on the subject and debunk them. So today we're going to talk about archaeology. And before we do that, let's go forward in time. Let's go forward 2,000 years. Welcome to 4018. Imagine you're an archaeologist who wants to learn about the ancient civilization of millennials from 2,000 years ago. You start digging for objects from 2018. What do you think you'd find? There's a lot of things that you could probably find. Maybe you'd find someone's treasured Bugatti race car? A space shuttle? What about a gold toilet? Why did I name off crazy things like this? Because you'd most likely find the most valuable or rare stuff because people would have more motivation to protect them. So you'd look at all these cool objects from 2018 and say, oh, this is what life looked like 2,000 years ago. Let's come back to 2018. If you're an average person like me, you've probably never ridden in a Bugatti, been on a spaceship, or have owned a gold toilet. So isn't it a bit ridiculous that these things would represent us in the future? This is exactly what we're doing with Chinese artifacts today. Take for example, Li Songjie, an associate professor at the Jingdezhen Ceramic Institute in China, said that Chinese porcelain, as a representative of Chinese artifacts, takes the Chinese consumer attitudes, cultural beliefs, and social systems to the world. What he said is true. Artifacts like porcelain do distinctly represent Chinese culture. However, are they really representative of people in the past? In order to answer that question, today we're going to look at this beautiful bronze wine vessel from the Warring States period. We'll come back to it later. First, let's look at what life was like in the Warring States period. The Warring States period between 475 BC to 221 BC was a period of great prosperity. According to the economic history of the Warring States, in one of the states, the Kingdom of Yue, towns were greatly expanded and a different variety of goods were sold, such as horses, rabbits, shoes, or accessories. Many people built fortunes, and handicrafts and craftsmen were suddenly in great demand. Commoners in this era were divided into 4 occupations: scholars, farmers, craftsmen, and merchants. Skilled craftsmen suddenly became much more valuable as handicrafts became more complex and more sought after as displays of wealth and power. Let's go back to the farmers. In his book, The Pre-Modern Chinese Economy, Gong Deng estimates the average percentage of people doing non-agricultural work in pre-modern China to only about 13.4%. The farmer class most likely made up the majority of the population during the Warring States period, and clearly they did not see the increased wealth because life was not easy for them. Farmers in this era worked for lords who provided them with the basic necessities, but oftentimes they were exploited by the lords in order to maintain their extravagant lifestyles. They could not afford to eat meat, and their clothing was very basic and made with hemp. Some peasants were forced to steal just to survive. Now let's go back and look at the bronze vessel from earlier. First, the design. This beautiful vessel from the Warring States period has a flattened oval body and is raised on a low rectangular foot. It's decorated with bordered scroll pattern panels separated by bands of copper. Each narrow side has a loose ring handle, and the neck is inlaid in copper with a band of upright blades. Now let's turn our attention to the decorations. 盘翅纹 is a distinct dragon pattern that can be found on the vessel. Shi can be translated to little dragon, which refers to the dragon ornaments present in the design. Two or more dragons are intertwined to form a unit, which is repeated to form a strip or attached to the object. This pattern was very popular in the Warring States period, and its accuracy during manufacturing required very careful planning and precise calculations. With such a complex design, the logical next question is, how did they do it? This vessel was most likely made with the piece mold casting method. This method was most likely the only method known in China for producing bronze products. The piece mold model method involves two main parts, a mold and a model. The model is made of the desired product, and a clay mold is taken of the model. The mold is then cut in sections and reassembled to form a mold for casting. Although cumbersome, this method allowed the bronze worker to carve complex and detailed decorative patterns on the inside of the mold. Another thing we should consider about the vessel is its material, bronze. In the Warring States period, bronze manufacturing was a symbol of power which was monopolized by the nobility. All bronze wares were based on the desires and aesthetics of the noble class. The larger the vessel, and the more bronze it contained, the greater the symbolic value. Therefore, if we consider bronze's high value, this vessel's complicated production method and intricate pattern, we can deduce that it was made for someone in the higher ranks of society, which means it was not accessible for an overwhelming majority of the population. This bronze wine vessel is not the only ancient Chinese artifact we have that probably was not accessible to most of the population. We have intricate bronze swords, spearheads, and bowls, just to name a few from this era. If we expand the selection to other eras of Chinese history, the catalog will become enormous. With most of China's population serving as peasant farmers throughout its long history, should we really use these artifacts to define society in the past? If a race car or a spaceship shouldn't define us in 2018, then maybe we shouldn't be so quick to use contemporary artifacts from their time to define them. Maybe we shouldn't use the possessions of an elite few to define the culture and society of a whole.